How does it feel being back in the generational homeland?
Well, I think Eckhart Tolle said it best. He said, "In Germany, I cannot write, but I can edit."
Brilliant. God, I love Eckhart Tolle. I can write, but I cannot edit.
No,
Fascinating.
no, he can edit, but he cannot write.
He can edit, but he can't write. Oh, how interesting. Oh, that's so okay. So how does that transfer to your experience now?
Um, every energy field has its sort of, I would say, pros and cons. And Germany is a very strong energy field. Each region has its own kind of feeling, but as a culture, as a country, it also has its own kind of feeling. And um it's very technical.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very precise. It's very, the Germans like to plan. They like security. They like, somewhat predictability. Or it's, that's just how things are kind of here, rather predictable.
Hmm.
It has its, strengths and weaknesses. There's a sense of there's a strength. There's a sense of groundedness. I can feel the depth of the land, the depth of the people. Um, but in the other kind, there's a lot left to be desired in my own kind of interests in terms of spontaneity and creativity and pushing limits and taking risks and kind of being more in the flow and maybe not planning, maybe chilling a little bit and so it's great and it's also challenging. There's I think there's because of the genetic resonance, there's probably an extra, I don't know if heaviness might be the term, or it's more of just like what's the word? It's like a thickness, where I feel like a little bit not as fluid, but at the same time, I'm in a village here. It's very quiet, it's very peaceful, it's very cozy, and it's nice. So I don't know. And I saw my son for the first time in a year and a half yesterday. So that was a big thing.
Oh,
And it was, it was really good.
amazing.
We were very, very, very happy to see each other. It went really well. We both miss each other a lot, and it was just such a joy to see each other again. And it was just truly a heart opening experience, a heart rekindling of heart connection. The challenge of it is the the I would say unnecessary caution that those involved around this who don't understand my connection with Gurmukh are taking. Um, uh, and so I got a 3 hour window precisely in which I could see him. And then he had to take a break today because we didn't want to overwhelm him. And when this is someone who I've had on my chest since the day he was born and reciting Japji Sahib and meditating. I've been so close to him. And now that there's this, oh, we have to be cautious, and it's like it just there's no zero almost, I would say, sense of real feeling into the situation of what's really going on here, and more of a just completely mental construct of how we think it should be. For whatever reason, I have no idea even why. So my hope is that those who are involved in regulating this, the ex-wife and also, the government's kind of representatives, will have a little kind of compassion that might come in and understand that this is a connection between father and son that is very strong and beyond their perception of how it might have been before this, before they met me. I mean, because they haven't even met me. So anyway, it's both amazing but also challenging because I would want to spend the whole weekend with him. I would want him to stay with me. I want to go on adventures with him. I want to go and the fact that that's not happening is almost tragic, because it's an opportunity for just something really beautiful, and it's not being recognized at this point. So we'll see. I hope I have to change it. I hope that I don't have to fight in the court. I hope that it's just obvious that this is a valuable connection and that it should be, supported. And so anyway,
Wow, Subhraag, I can feel. I mean, my heart is like was expanding when you started talking about your son and then contracting again when
yeah,
feeling this dominance of control. And
yeah,
so my as you know, my father's German. I have family in Germany.
yeah,
I spent my whole childhood traveling to Germany, Austria, Norway, and although I can say there are commonalities in the Germanic cultures, there's something unique about Germany in this precision in the way things are done and this containment and this it's controlled. It's even the language itself, you have to know what you're going to say before you say it. You can't just get speaking and allow it to trail, which English, as we're trained in our native tongue, is much more fluid in the way we can express from the heart, and the Germans are not trained to express from the heart. It comes from mind and then maybe translates to the heart, to the tongue, or just directly from the mind to the tongue. And just listening to you, it feels like that cultural dominance is translating to your personal life. And I can say the same thing. My father, I see this with my father and the way he was raised and his relationship with his father, and just these limitations that I think are almost culturally ingrained in German people.
yeah,
So it's you're up against a lot. This isn't just a personal dynamic. This is a culturally ingrained dynamic that
yeah,
I can feel the heaviness, the weightiness of this for you.
yeah. Yeah, control is exactly that. And I think what I've noticed personally in my time here, a lot of things, the way things are on the facade, on the outside, are not always how things are, behind the scenes in personal life and all that stuff. And my experience has been that as much as they try and control the outside world, that the there is a reciprocal sometimes lack of control emotionally. So they try, the emotional containment has to come out somewhere in some way. It's kind of um, like sexual energy as well. I mean, I know when I was meditating in this is going to get very personal, but why not? This is not often talked about, and so I'm just going to bring it up because it just comes to my mind to say. So I'm going to say it, whatever. I'm breaking all taboos here.
Love.
Um, when I was in India meditating in a room for hours a day, in some wheat fields, I thought that the ideal thing is to control one's sexual energy and to rise above that and transcend. And the longer that I went without that, the more that I noticed that it would come out in dreams and and all these kinds of ways which are completely, unexpected. And so we can repress and shut down all that we want, but there's certain things that just have to be expressed and have to come out and be shared and all of that. And I think the sort of the emotional control is great for engineering. It's probably a lot of our technology that we have today, a lot of our great inventions probably come from sort of repressing that sort of a warmth and having to be very technical. And you can see it in the weather too. I mean, the weather here, much of the year, particularly now, is gray and cloudy and kind of like wet and all that kind of thing. So it's maybe conducive to that kind of things in cultures where it's sunny and warm. You'll just notice like the body language, the body movement's a lot more open. And here you go out, you kind of bundle yourself up, you shield yourself against and so it just kind of comes out personally. And it has its pros and its cons. I don't want to say anything bad about it because in a lot of ways, once you get to know a German or a German family or German people, it's a longer term commitment. So in America, you might make a friend real quick, but you might lose a friend real quick. But here, there's sort of a, it might take a little bit longer to get to that warmth underneath.
Yeah.
But once it's there, it's much more long term and much more felt, more subtle. It's not as overt and expressed as sometimes it is in other cultures. It's there is a warmth and there is a there's and it can be very beautiful and deeply felt, but it's oftentimes very subtle. So it's you know it's not completely my style.
You're articulating it so beautifully. And this is something that I grew up with. My mother Norwegian, my father German, right? Both very cold climate locales. And
Yeah,
I think you're absolutely right. You just hit the nail on the head. It's not that the warmth is lacking. It's just there's more layers to get through to get to the warmth. And that is a physiological reality as it is a psychosomatic. And
yeah,
then just the cultural programming. I mean, made me think of Edvard Munch's painting The Scream. It's like all these emotions are so in there, but they're trapped because we bottle them up when you go insular. And it's exactly what we've seen happening in the scamdemic era. These
mhm,
years that we were contained, confined, subjected to being, in our structure, in our home, or in our apartments, wherever we were in the world, kept from one another,
mhm,
secluded. All those emotions that we weren't able to express overtly in the presence of one another. It's like this climactic explosion all over the internet of reactivity and emotions that
yeah,
years of oppression, right? I mean, it's the lid is going to blow off the jar when contained for too long.
mhm,
And sometimes I think, we I don't know. We have a choice culturally. We can choose as a collective to blow the lid off rather than blowing it off, to unscrew and let the energy seep out. But that becomes a collective agreement. And
yeah,
I just don't see that. It's fascinating when you really break down cultural evolution. I just don't see that happening because in my perception of Norwegians, and I love my family and I love my friends in Norway, but there is a I don't want to say it's not like they're caged by their social construct, but to some degree, they're so forced to fit in to the way things should look and the way that things ought to be. And everyone just behaves a certain way to not rock the boat, to make it uncomfortable for everyone. There's a mindfulness in that, a respect of one
yeah,
another. But in that, I feel like there is a repressed energy. There
yeah.
is a repressed, just dance, right? I mean, and I don't think it's just, I mean, look, I'm not pointing fingers at these cultures only because we see it in every part of the world and in individuals, right? But I do think the American culture is unique in its ability, this freedom to have expression of the soul, to ecstatically dance, to join the circus, to be a musician and suck at it. But it doesn't matter because there's karaoke nights for those people, you know what I mean? And I just don't see that culturally, having traveled to 42 countries and lived in many parts of the world. I've never seen that flow state expression of the soul in other parts of the world as I have in the United States.
I mean, it's also probably the youngest of countries too. I mean, right? It's sort of cultures, in the sense that everything is relatively new compared to everywhere else, and so there's less of a burden of lineage, and so yeah, I feel the same way. Everywhere that I've been, there's just not. I love everywhere that I've been. Everywhere has its pros and cons, and I've just gained so much from my world travels. But at the moment, there's there's nowhere else that I'd rather be, at the moment, and which is
Beautiful feeling, right? To
yeah,
arrive at that, I feel the same way. I tell people, because people say, well, always ask me, what was your favorite country? What's your favorite place? Where would you live if you weren't living here? And I've come to this point at soon 47 that there is nowhere else I'd rather live. And is this place perfect? Far from, right? In Baltimore, give me a break. We have so much room to grow and evolve and be better. But but I think, just the freedom I feel within my own heart and my soul to express and to be. It's so liberating to be here. And while it's amazing to journey in other places, coming home here feels more home than anywhere else. So we're so fortunate to feel that way, aren't we?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's a lot of other cultures I know that are just would just do anything to come to the United States. And like when I lived in India, how many people would I met? I mean, daily, multiple times. Oh, can you find a job for me? Can you bring me to, can you bring me to the US and all that kind of thing? And in some levels, I understand. In some levels, it's sort of an escapism because there is so much to do where one is. But I also feel, I don't know, I feel that we live in this sort of global caste system in a sense that kind of being in America just by birth, there are certain kinds of privileges that others, other places, other countries don't have. Like I have this family in India that sort of adopted me as a son. So I have like four younger siblings and two parents there, and they're all musicians. And they've tried three, four, or five times to get a visa to come to the United States as artists to help with yoga retreats and to play music and to tour. And they've been denied every time for absolutely no reason because they have a tremendous talent, and they're just the best human beings you can ever meet, but denied. And so it's like, why can I just go there, but they can't come here? It doesn't make any sense. So it's a privilege, but also it feels weird that it's not. It is what it is. It's kind of a global caste system that we aren't even really aware that we have.
What a brilliant way of the reality check that this is, because then, and this is such a current topic, immigration. I mean, my parents immigrated here, and the only reason that they could was because my father came to Johns Hopkins, and he was seen as a valuable asset, the first foreigner ever accepted into the Johns Hopkins residency program.
Oh,
And literally that paved the way for other foreigners because he excelled and they saw such value that he brought from another system, Germany. But it is, my mother wasn't willing to give up her Norwegian citizenship. Her heritage, her roots were so important to her. So she was never granted citizenship in this country. She lived
uh,
as with a green card as an alien, a
yeah.
legal alien for I guess what 38 years or so, however long she was here. But it is a global caste system. And you kind of have to look at the control mechanisms and question why are these people like this family who you are a part of in India, why are they not able to bring their gifts here? Because what a fortune we would have to have people with such gifts coming here. Why is that being why has that kind of been shut down? I can't figure it out. I really am at a loss. I don't understand why we have closed these sort of iron gates. Um, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
That's a good question. I can't comment, politically what's happening because I'm not following all the intricate details of where we're at and where things are right now, and I know it's constantly changing for a variety of reasons. So I don't want to make any comment in that regard. I don't know. I really don't know.
I don't either, but I do think it comes back to the topic of control.
Yeah.
And that there are these dominating forces on a global level
Mhm.
who are, I mean, personally, my sense, putting politics aside, is this is about coming back to awakening, putting
Yeah.
these parameters on the accelerated evolution of humanity's awakening. Because
Mhm.
why else would we be unable to, I would say, collaborate with other awakeners? Hearing what you have to say about this family, and it's just all I can feel energetically is that they would enhance our experience, our cultural
Absolutely.
experience, and level us up, bringing frequency and sound, as we've talked about many times, on a level that they understand through a different set of harmonics, an internal set of harmonics, through that I'm sure that they're way more in tune with their internal landscape than many Americans are,
Yeah.
to bring these awakening experiences. Um, Who doesn't want us to wake up? That's really the question I think I'm asking, is, you know, why are we being blocked now? Right? Because we are at the most exciting precipice in human evolution right now of awakening. We should we should be breaking down that global caste system now more than ever, right? But instead, no. The walls are going up on a much more aggressive level than we've seen in a long time.
Well, but when you said on the precipice of this time in human, the greatest time in human history, again, full body goosebumps. Um, I guess the image that comes to mind right now is just pressure cooker. I
Yes.
mean, I was just watching on my TikTok feed a Michelin chef came up showing how to make mashed potatoes for Thanksgiving, and he says he has like a whole bunch of Instapots going in his back kitchen all of the time with broths and with potatoes and with everything stewing in a pressure cooker because it cooks faster and the flavors penetrate deeper and it's just more efficient and it's an Instapot, so it goes off right when the time to watch over it, which was pretty funny. I never expected to hear a Michelin chef say that he has Instapots in his in his kitchens because it seems like a home convenience device, but it makes total sense. I can't live without Instapot. Like that's how I sustain my my life essentially. And so maybe it's that. Maybe it's because of this convergence of all things, this sort of pressure and confusion and intensity, intensification on all fronts is required.
So brilliant. I think you just hit the nail on the head. I thought you were going to say something else because when you start talking about pressure cooker, what
Speaking of
I,
pressure cooker, I have something burning on the stove. One second.
that's hilarious. Oh my gosh, the real-time analogy. Isn't that incredible?
That's hilarious. It just turns off by itself. It's like, of course we'll remember to turn that off. Anyway, now it's smoking.
Because what this morning, what I saw, and I'm really limiting myself, my allowance of scrolling. I'm just so over it. But then at the same time, I follow so many incredible people that I do I do tune into. I give myself about 4 swipes and then I'm done, right? And it's like that's it. And if I didn't catch anything interesting, oh well, I'm supposed to go inward. And if I caught a couple interesting things, something to mull over. So this morning was the pressure cooker of the Ring of Fire. That we are seeing all these volcanic eruptions now in the Ring of Fire from Indonesia up to Japan. And
Mm.
underwater eruptions. And when I went in I guess it was November of 2024, when I thought I was dying, but I was just waking up to a whole other layer of awakening, all those cosmic beings that I never knew were even able to communicate with a human. And what they showed me were these series of volcanic eruptions and floods and earthquakes and fires. And I'm like, okay, this is so biblical. Are you
Mm.
sure this is real? Like this is actually going to happen in 2025? And what am I supposed to do with that information? And they said, well, nothing. It's just you asked, so we showed. And I've kind of, I've been seeing all this happening, but now it's like accelerating. And I just find it fascinating because it was the same concept of the pressure cooker of our planet. But it's also happened in this last week with the sun. I don't know if you followed that 3-eye atlas in the last couple of weeks, but that comet, which I really believe is some sort of entity from, I really believe it's from another universe. I don't even think it's from this universe. I just have no freaking clue how it got into our universe. But through some sort of wormhole, I don't know. But it's been approaching the sun. A comet doesn't go towards a sun, typically speaking, not in our solar system. We haven't seen this before. And when it approaches, a comet approaches, usually there's a tail behind it.
Mhm.
Well, this comet has some sort of a precedent tail. So it's not even a tail, it's something in front of it that's,
What?
yes, that's been moving before it. It's so crazy. And as it was approaching the sun, this thing, this luminosity looked almost like it beamed into the sun. And what the photographs that we have of the sun was that the plasma was displaced, almost creating like a hole in the sun of gases
What?
and moved around the sun. And all of that plasma, that electromagnetic wave, was pushed to Earth. The
Wow.
Schumann resonance, the electromagnetic field, the biosphere became thin. The solar storm that hit us was so massive. And I mean, I felt it, which is crazy. The first time in 7 months, my blood pressure was through the roof again. I mean, for me, through the roof. I have quite low blood pressure. It was like 160 over 94, which for me is
Oh,
really high.
I
And I
bet,
was
yeah.
so dizzy and I was so hyper emotional and I couldn't figure out what the frick was going on. So I took my blood pressure and I was like, okay, when this happens, it's usually when we've had a extremely high KP index and it drops to zero. And that's exactly what happened. And then I
Wow.
went digging to see what was going on, and that's what I learned. And when this kind of event is going to happen, we're going to feel the pressure inside of our planet. And now we've got all these volcanoes going off. And
Is that why? Is that the reason why there's so much aurora borealis that everybody's seeing across?
yep, boom, exactly. We saw it in Ocean City. My one of my dearest friends, a sister from another mister. I don't know what I'd do without her. Her brother lives in New Jersey, I mean in Ocean City, and he took pictures of aurora borealis
Wow.
in Maryland. Like, what?
Wow.
And we didn't even have warning that we were going to see it. I didn't know, or I would have stayed up to see it.
Yeah.
But it was all over the world. And so that is exactly why, Subhraag. And so we are in this cosmic pressure cooker right now. So for you to use that analogy with a French Michelin star chef is just so funny to me because it is the microcosm of the macrocosm that we are all experiencing now at this great awakening on this planet. So I mean, I'm so awestruck with how the talk about synchronicities, and it's like when you're open to it, there are no coincidences. There just aren't.
It's amazing because the I mean, in terms of awakening, what other better sort of sign is that than the high vibrational colors? So the fact that the high vibrational colors of aurora borealis are starting to creep their way down and bathe us, how amazing is that?
And I think I've talked about this before that I truly believe that our original DNA is 12 strands and that 10 strands were shot down, made dormant. So we've really been living in our mammalian and reptilian brain, because
Absolutely.
that's
Yeah.
really the DNA that is within us that has been activated for, I would argue, probably, 6,000 years or so. Maybe even longer. I don't know. Our history records have been so manipulated that we wouldn't really know what the true history is of our planet.
Yeah.
But I do think that with these sorts of, I'm going to call it a plasma bath, right,
Mhm.
of photonic energy,
Yeah.
light and color, and the sounds that I'm sure are also happening that we can't necessarily perceive with our limitations, but we
Yeah.
feel it. And animals, I mean, our dogs have been incredibly needy this week. I'm
Hmm.
sure they're hearing things and feeling things that are, I believe, dogs can perceive in 6D, and maybe cats and dogs can. That's why they're so interesting. They find locations in the house and they're like, this is my ley line within this home. They perceive things on a level that we are somewhat ignorant to.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that these plasma baths are possibly waking up this dormant DNA, that our codes are being genetically elevated and activated, so that is part of the awakening as well, you know?
Maybe that's kind of maybe it's just a process of remembrance. Like if we once we remember and we get in touch, it's always there, but our attention has been drawn away from it by for various reasons. And now it's a time of just coming back to what's always been there. But it's like, and when you come back, you're like, oh, that's so familiar, and it feels so good. I forgot about that. And I think maybe that's what the harmonics and all this music stuff that I'm working on is actually doing. It's not, in a sense, like doing anything I mean, it is doing things physically, but what its primary function is just to remember us of our primordial structures that we completely forgot about because they're so intricate, they're so beautiful, they're so multidimensional, they're so exquisitely colorful and high definition, high resolution, and it's just like, oh, that exists. Ah, now I can see it. and it's it's not adding anything. It's actually just reminding us of what's already there.
And not only full body chills, but I am like high as a kite right now, just hearing you say that.
Yeah, I'm starting to like really look forward to these podcasts because every time I sit down, I'm like, I'm gonna get so high. I'm so looking forward to this.
Really, I feel like I'm high as a kite. I'm even like, even feeling this like wah, wah, wah in my
Yeah.
head. And it doesn't probably help that I have my PEMF machine. So I have this like this wand that's full of
Ooh.
copper, tourmaline, and rubies. I mean, this thing is super
Ooh.
heavy, and it's connected to you can see back here my little
Uh-huh.
little devices. That's the
Yeah.
this is all the PEMF machine. And I bought this in 2016. So this is pretty, old technology. But I mean, like you're saying, like we don't necessarily know what it's doing, right? But it's doing
Yeah.
something. And I think over time, the more that we interface with an open heart to the harmonics, to the photons, to the frequency, to all of this, that it has this compounding effect that slowly this crescendo of remembrance.
Yeah.
Because that is how I feel, and thank God I'm so grateful that my awakening journey hasn't been this like poof, Kundalini awakening that I
Yeah.
don't know that I could have handled physiologically in this lifetime. I've had this slow burn, this beautiful unfolding, like a blossom just waking up to its beauty and its magnificence over the course of, close to 30 years now of active remembrance. And just in the last couple of years, I've realized exactly as you just stated it, that it is remembrance because it's almost like, these synchronicities and these deja vu points. It's calling in remembrance. We've been here, we've done that. Future proves past.
Mm. I love that. That's so beautifully said. I appreciate that's one of the things I appreciate about having studied Kundalini yoga over all these years is the way that that was from what Yogi Bhajan, as controversial as he is nowadays. I think he did a genius job in terms of transmitting these yoga and meditation technologies because that's exactly how that's formulated. It's this slow, gentle, amazing awakening that just blossoms more and more and more and every day. And I think that's the beauty of consciousness itself. The beauty of love is that it you think you've reached the limits of the beauty. You think you've reached the limits of the love, and nope, it can get even more beautiful than that. The love can be even more deep and powerful than that, and the joy can be even more ecstatic than than it's unbelievable how it just can can continually blossom.
I understand pi for the first time in my life. Like, and it took getting
Ah,
to 40 to understand that is the infinite potential of pi. It just doesn't.
mm,
And it's that Christic spiral versus that Fibonacci. That is, everything in the Fibonacci sequence dies, right? It's like
mm,
everything in our planet that has that Fibonacci sequence, it doesn't have infinite potential. It actually dies out because and I don't really, it's hard to explain this. I'm not going to do a very good job of, but it's like a 10 base system versus a 12 base system. And the
mm.
Christic spiral is that 12 base system that is more harmonic with the potential of pi. And it just goes on and on and on and continues forever. And that is exactly, I can resonate with your statement of the love just grows and grows. And you think you reach a certain point, and then it's like, no, there's a whole new layer of awakening that
Mm.
that unfolds with each level you reach. It's like Mario Kart, you reach a certain level, and then it's like,
Yeah,
yeah, this is where the game begins. And then you reach another level, you're like, what? I'm starting all over again. And it just
yeah.
gets better and better. But that is really what it's about. It just goes on and on.
That's the one thing that when you bring attention to the love, attention to the to consciousness, to self knowledge. That's the one thing that as you get older and older and older can get stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. The body itself, reaches its peak. I mean, depends on who you ask. Some people, I heard a study that actually were meant to be basically genetically strong until 70, 75. That actually, if we just keep working out and we don't let ourselves atrophy, then we can have as much strength as we did when we're 15 when we're 70. But even so, you get a 70, 80, 90, and the body can decay, but the love, if we keep attention to it, will always get stronger.
Well, and truly love heals. I mean, it is the healing frequency.
Mm.
Um, I mean, and I don't know, not to put a number to that frequency as we've talked about before, but I mean, and I think it's very self-limiting to put these numbers to all of this understanding, right? Love really doesn't have, I think, a single frequency or a single harmonic. And I look at someone like my father who's reached the ripe age of 94 and is age reversing. And people always ask why. And I mean, yes, I can talk about the supplements and the herbs and all of this that we're giving him, but I think being surrounded by the love of his family and his grandchildren
Yeah.
has been the magic code for his longevity and his age reversal. I mean, he literally looks like he's aging backwards. It is the
Wow.
wildest thing. I can't even, I mean, his wrinkles are retracting. Like
Wow.
he doesn't look 94. I mean, it's so crazy. It's so beautiful, but I really believe that we can live way beyond. And I think that we are actually in this human form truly designed. We should be living to be 120, 124, 128 years old. I
Definitely.
really think that if there wasn't the government interference of, I truly believe the government has created things like Lyme disease and cancer and HIV and, all of these things that I don't think exist in the natural world. That we are.
I've been saying, I really believe that. I mean, I feel like I could live to 120 easily. And I keep saying that to Alethea. I want to spend 8 decades with you. I mean, which is amazing to think that we're in our 40s, which is, what used to be over the hill. I remember my parents when they turned 40, I thought, oh my God, they're old. And now it's like to think that potentially there's still eight good decades left. And with the fact with the way that consciousness and life here on Earth is accelerating and consciousness is blossoming, how cool is would that be to sort of ride this wave of consciousness evolution for another 8 decades, us being in our 40s now. Like when normally that's thought to be kind of like the end, or like, you start to go downhill over the hill.
Which is such nonsense. And but
Yeah,
this is where the power of belief. I
yeah,
mean, in here I had two kids in my 40s, 5 days shy of 42 with number three, and then I was 44 with number four. And I know that, there were some people who quietly were judging, like this poor child, you know, how many years of having a parent are your babies going to have? And I'm thinking, well, little do they know, I'm planning on living to be 128.
yeah, exactly.
They're gonna have to deal with me a lot longer than they may want to. But
Yeah.
I feel younger and more youthful in so many ways as I evolve.
Yeah.
And like I'm claiming evolution as opposed to the system, which I really believe is a system, a program of linear aging. Why don't we just claim that we're evolving and forget
Mm,
the chronos system? Forget that
absolutely.
linear system of time. And when you release these constructs and these self-limiting parameters and programs, we self-liberate. And really, I think that's part of the self-realization process. And
Mm,
to add on to this, this week I was listening to another Greg Braden, and where he was talking about the square root of 1% of a number. So let's say a population of a million. The square root of 1% of a million is only 100. So if you take a population or a community of a million people, it only takes 100 to actually have an impact on that million. Now, if we have 8.1 billion people on this planet and change, the square root of 1% of 8.1 billion is 9,000.
yeah.
9,000 awakeners is all it
Mm,
takes to shift this planet, truly. But that means we have to believe and feel, not just not just believe and visualize. We have to feel. So, like,
mm,
in order for me to actually reverse my age, I truly believe, on top of, eliminating the toxins and the crap and the, all the chemicals, but to believe that I can feel my body turning back that clock of aging,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, it really is mostly mental. I think it's more mental than it is any of
Yes.
the physical stuff with toxins and food and all of that stuff. It's really just holding that in our mind and our space and just seeing our bodies evolve into that shape and that form and sort of taking on that trajectory.
And
I feel it I mean, completely in myself. I'm aging in reverse and I know it. I'm healthier than I've ever been. I'm healthier, more vibrant, stronger, flexible than I've ever been in my life by far.
think about if we're able to do this, which I know that we are doing this. And I mean, I've proven it through doing the testing. Like my biological age is 8.8 years younger. And that was 6 months ago when I tested. You know,
Yeah.
I gotta do another test soon,
Yeah.
probably give that to myself for my 47th birthday just for fun. But imagine what else we can accomplish. What kind of world peace, um, you know, fighting disease, cures coming. I don't even think we're waiting for the scientific cure for cancer. I think we are the cure. I think
Yeah.
that consciousness is the medicine that
Mm.
we seek. We just have to remember that we have these tools and that we have this code within us. We just have to activate it.
Well, it's interesting that I mean my one of my visions that I hold for my life and for planet Earth in general is that every child is born into a field of harmonics, where they hear these sounds, they can play with them, they can understand them, they can experiment, they can utilize these basic fundamental sort of birthrights of human consciousness in their daily life in a completely fluid and expressive and spiritually elevating way. And I just see the whole earth, every human being on earth being able to experience that. And so when you say that it takes only 9,000 people to make a shift like that, then I think definitely could do that, especially in this age of social media where you can get a message out to I can get a message out to 5 million people overnight if it's formulated in a way that's in resonance. So
Right? And that's something that I feel like, it's the more people kind of choose to step into being a lighthouse, choose
yeah,
to become a beacon of love, of harmonic resonance, of heart coherence, of light, of truth, of remembrance, that we activate each other. And then if you have all these lighthouses, all you need is 9,000 lighthouses.
yeah. Wow.
Creating a ripple effect in their own ways.
Where did this number come? How is that his like an intuitive projection, or how did he come to that 1% of a population or
So
one?
this goes back to so have you heard of Heart Math, the Heart Math Institute?
Yes. Yeah.
When I was finishing up my Asian medicine master's degree in Los Angeles, I had some time to kill while I'd taken my boards, and it was going to take about 4 months to get my license.
Mhm.
Um, so I had some time and I studied at the Heart Math Institute in Los Angeles.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
that's where I became aware of teachers like Eckhart Tolle and Alan Watts and Greg Braden. And Greg
Mhm.
Braden is more of our contemporary. I mean, he's like a little older than us.
Yeah.
Um, and he's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And he also studied at the Heart Math Institute. So
Huh.
I remember learning this back in 2008, but I'd forgotten, and he reminded
Yeah.
me of it. And it is something that they came up with based on a small group of people that they were measuring the heart's frequency, the capability of one human heart's impact on
Yeah.
on a group. And based on that number, they were able to extract that math. I mean, everything's math.
Right. So it has to do with the sort of the impact of the resonant of the resonance field. So if your
Yes.
heart comes into coherence, if your body, mind, and spirit come into coherence, the impact that that has on other people, you need only that number of people to be holding that vibration for it to affect the masses,
Yes,
basically. That
exactly.
makes sense. Yeah.
And this is where you hear about these groups, 1,000 people coming together at 7 p.m. on, Eastern Standard Time, and everybody around the world figures out what time that is and chooses to meditate on world peace for an hour at that time. And what they found is actually around the world that that violence around the world decreases in that time. So it's pretty profound, the impact that we have. And rather than looking at the controllers who want us to believe in these systems and these control mechanisms and programs that have governed entire cultures, races, countries, religions, right? That
Mhm.
we realize that we can break the chains of those controllers at will. We just have to believe that we have it within ourselves. And it's remembering the code within our hearts, that we can activate that code, and we actually have the potential and the power within each of us. And then we collaborate in numbers, and we can topple this system like that. But we have to believe it. We have to choose it, and then we have to remember it, and then align with
Full
it.
body goosebumps again.
Me too. And what's wild is I'm watching you, and I'm like totally sober, right? It's Sunday morning. And I am, as we're talking, I am
Yeah.
seeing layers of your aura lighting up.
Wow.
It's
Yeah,
so
I'm
wild.
feeling it. Yeah.
It's this, you have this beautiful white outline around you. And then I'm seeing these layers, but they're like this and this. And then there's this, like, when you look at old icons, religious
Yeah.
icons of like Mother Mary and Child, where you have that icon around them. And you see it in Buddha, in a lot of the iconography in the Eastern world as well. And that is that self-realization, that awakening crown around us as we start illuminating to that self-realized capacity. And
I'm
it's
feeling it. I mean, as we're diving into this, it's like, wow, ah, ooh. And then like the inner symphonies are just, in complete like joyous resonance.
I feel it. I literally, like, every hair, every goosebump
So
is
awesome.
inside out. My entire body is inside out. So
I
beautiful.
mean, that's what I've been feeling also like a lot lately is the power of relationship. I used to think that enlightenment was a solo process that I just go into a cave and I meditate, I repeat the mantra, and I go inside and all of that stuff. And what I'm realizing now is the deep satisfaction of sharing in these sort of concepts and journeys and processes with somebody or with a small group of people or with a larger group of people. For me, this whole path now is far more about relationship than it is about any sort of personal thing.
And I'm so happy you brought that up, because it builds on what we talked about last week,
Mhm.
where all these people fearing AI, it's so silly. I mean, it really is, because we give power to whatever it is we fear. And if we just realize that we just need to create more relations, physical relation, gathering. This is why they shut us down from churches, and synagogues were closed, and gathering places for humans to come together, because that is truly where we activate. We activate one another.
I
It's
think it's I think it's ti I think it's the time of the soulmates. I think we have start finding our personal romantic partner soulmates, but also just our soulmates on a broader sense as well. It's time for us to all come out and I mean, in order do that on some level, there's a certain level of personal integrity that one has to have. Um, but we're not going to achieve our complete integrity until we're in those relationships because it's through the relationships that we get our strength and our resonance and our power that really. And what I've been noticing is we've experienced this ourselves. Is there's sort of the clearer that we become on ourselves, the more powerful the filtration process happens. So
Yeah.
those vibrational fields in the form of humans or places or whatever it is. It could even be saxophones. I had a saxophone that just didn't fit my vibrational field anymore, and it got stolen from me basically, and I had to buy a new one, which is way more in my vibrational field. And I was just so grateful. At first, I was like, "Why did that get stolen?" And then I realized, "Oh, wait, it's because I needed a better saxophone that fit my vibrational field." And so I think that's, some of these things that happen, which are so-called tragedies, where something might break or be taken away, or you might lose a friend or something like that. It's like if we're on the path of coming into integrity with into heart coherence, then those things which are not in alignment with that will just can't survive. It's like a disease. It's like the disease, the cancer, the whatever it is, just can't live in an environment that is um, heart coherent.
Right. No, you're exactly right. Hold on one second. Let me just hand this.
Oh.
A little sad face. Oh no. But that's exactly right. There is no room for disease, dis-ease in a
Mhm.
heart coherent field. And I think when God, when you just shared that story, I wish we could all come to that place of, I mean, it's beyond acceptance. It's surrender that unfolds into something so much more beautiful, where you can see that if something is taken from you, like your saxophone, to
Mhm.
honor that maybe it is just God's way or
Yeah.
nature's way of eliminating something from your field that doesn't resonate with you anymore, that doesn't actually enhance your experience. And I know it's very hard for us to, um, I had to grapple with that when my mom left, right? It's like it's hard to accept that these people or these belongings that we cherish and we covet and we hold so dear in our hearts can be taken from us. But when you choose to go into that, well, God, what an a-hole would steal that from me, right? Or
Yeah.
why would this person be taken away from me? That there is something that we have to come into harmonic resonance with. There is something we have to surrender to. And as hard as that can be to understand, there is a lesson in this, that there's a blessing on the other side of it, right? That here you stepped into something far greater with far greater alignment for you.
So it's even in the smallest things too. It's like I can only wear now organic cotton underwear.
Me,
I
same
I
thing.
can't I can't wear this. It drives me nuts.
It's so true. It's so,
No pun intended.
oh my God, no, oh, no pun intended.
I
Oh,
didn't.
hilarious.
I
Well, you
didn't
should
intend
try
it, but
linen.
yeah.
Linen's even more, linen boxers, amazing.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm totally with you. And that Scott was talking about that last week, that like this, leveling up the materials that we interface with. And when we have the opportunity to, it's like purging, right? Or if you have to move and you have to get rid of stuff, where you think, man, this is so unfair that I'm getting kicked out of like I was kicked out of a place in London, and the person came back from Jamaica and she was like, I'm moving back in, unannounced. I was at
Mhm.
school. I come home to her literally bagging up my stuff and throwing it out the window.
Wow.
And I had all kinds of belongings that weren't in the bags and that I had to let go of. And at first I was so enraged. This
Yeah.
jerk, like all these special things that I'd packed to bring with me for this experience to live in London for a couple of
Yeah.
years. And half the things were gone and I had to just walk away, and I couldn't, police were like, it's her house. We can't do anything about this. It
Wow.
was
Okay.
wild. And to just, align with, okay, well, now I have to get new stuff or just live with what I have and live with less. And I lived with less for a while. And then I realized a lot of the things that I had to let go of either weren't that important, were just things, right? Um,
Mhm.
and a lot of it just really didn't have any value or quality for that matter, right? So it was such a great lesson for me, but a brutal one at 22. Phew.
I think I had my stuff thrown out the window once as well. Want to hear the story?
Yes.
I was more, was it 27 maybe or something like that? 26, yeah, 27 probably. I had a girlfriend that I lived in New York for like 3 years, and she was great. We had a great, fantastic partnership. I mean, she was one of my best friends. She still is. We made it through to, as as friends
Beautiful.
miraculously. I don't know how. Uh,
Amazing.
and I started practicing Kundalini yoga in the middle of this. So I transitioned from what I call it sack of flesh to to awakening my energetic potential, and realize that I'm actually an energetic being as well, and a spiritual being as well as a sack of flesh. And I mean, always kind of knew that, but the Kundalini just did it for me. So I could no longer handle the sack of flesh kind of energy field anymore. It was like literally, it was like pushing me out. And it was something that's hard to explain, especially when you have a close relationship with somebody. And it's something that I was not prepared for. Like I just started doing this yoga and no one told me what was going to happen. I had no idea. Like I wish I had, maybe I don't wish anything different, but perhaps maybe if when I start to teach this to people and just kind of caution people what happens if you're doing this and other people around you are not, and to also just be sort of respectful and sort of authentic in that process, realizing that there are things that are more important. I don't know, it's just understanding the grace that one requires when making such changes. I didn't handle it very gracefully myself because I didn't know what was going on. So I was just following what I thought to be true. But at the time, it was just, I could have been more graceful with it. Anyway, I ended up splitting up, breaking up with her, and we were sleeping in different rooms. It was a New York, Brooklyn apartment. There was two rooms in it, and so I was sleeping. It was sleeping with her, sleeping in the other room as her or whatever. And I had went to a party. I've never shared any of this public. This is all going public now. Anyway, I went to a party of a lady who was going back to Switzerland, and it was a going away party. And I had met her once in a cafe, and she invited me. She's like, "Hey, I'm going away. I would love to see you." And but I'm going back to Switzerland, so it was my going away party. And I was literally about to go um, leave. And so, okay, it's time to go home now. And I hugged her to say goodbye. And then, poof, like the Kundalini resonance happened. And I was like, oh my God. I mean, this is what I thought would be possible in a human to human relationship. But I hadn't yet experienced it. And I was experiencing the sort of like Kundalini awakening in combination with sack of flesh energy. Sorry to call her that, but it's just where she was, and she's on her awakening too now too, which is amazing. But anyway, and so I just the hug just never stopped, and I stayed with her that night, and nothing much happened, but ultimately my partner, I guess I won't name who name names,
Mhm.
sort of intuited like where were you last night, and called me, and kind of just sensed what had happened, and when I got back, all my stuff had been thrown out the second story Brooklyn apartment window, and she wrote, which is hilarious, on actually a Yogi Bhajan quote book. You're This is spiritualism masquerading as narcissism. Obviously, she meant the opposite. This is narcissism masquerading as spiritualism. Anyway, it
Freudian slip.
was over fast. So that was not like a long slow. Okay, I'm gonna move out now today. It was just like that happened.
Out.
Threw it out the window. Get out. I called a friend who had a man with a van sort of side job, and he came and picked me up and put the stuff in storage, and off I was to the next leg of the journey. And it's reminding me now because I'm starting to teach Kundalini again and all this stuff. It's like I want to infuse forewarnings about how to handle these things with grace, in terms of the people that you meet, the people that you're connection with, recognizing the love and the authenticity of a relationship that's beyond energy. Because there's something that no matter how awakened somebody is, there's an integrity to the love. There's an integrity to the connection. There's integrity to the way you behave and the way you act and the way you handle yourself and other people, that even that you shouldn't be. I don't know what the word is. Like I think I lost my grace in that
Right.
moment. I
Mhm.
think I could have handled that in a much better way, understanding it all. But I didn't. It was, I was young in my 20s on a spiritual journey. I didn't know what was happening, and I was doing my best at the time. But anyway, that's my story of having my stuff thrown out the window.
Thank you for sharing that. It's a beautiful story, and I think there's so much depth to it, and it's not as
Yeah,
if we're given a map for
yeah,
awakening. And when we're in our 20s, it's extremely overwhelming. It can be extremely confusing and befuddling. And it's, we need the flesh suit. I call it the monkey suit. So I laugh when you call it this,
back of flesh.
bag of flesh. It's true. I mean, that's all we are, right? We are spiritual beings having human journey. I mean, it's exactly what you're stating, just in different words. Um, but I do believe that in this incarnation, in the choice of becoming human, we require one another to
Yeah.
awaken. And
Yeah.
that is the beautiful, the blessing, the grace of Kundalini awakening, that we have another human to do this with. I'd never experienced Kundalini energy. I'd wanted to. I'd been in Kundalini classes. I'd practiced yoga. I'd done meditation. I'd learned microcosmic orbit, I'd been breathing. I'd had
Yeah.
close encounters with Kundalini awakening, doing breath work, actually.
Yeah.
Um, real breath work in Nosara, Costa Rica, with the first teacher I ever had. She's Ashley Ludman, absolutely incredible, spectacular, outstanding human being. And it was the closest experience I'd had to Kundalini until my husband. And I'm so grateful that it gets to be my husband that I had the Kundalini experience. And it made me realize we really do need each other's humanity for this
Yeah.
experience. And something you mentioned before about soulmate. When you start talking about soulmate, and it's a question I get a lot, people will say, like, how do you know when you find your soulmate? And my answer has become, we don't have a soulmate.
Hmm.
Because if every one of us is a reflection of ourselves, and if we really do understand Kundalini and the experience of that awakening within, then we really do understand unity consciousness. And then
Hmm.
truly, every human that we encounter can be our soulmate.
Hmm.
Everybody is our walking soulmate.
Yeah.
It's not just one person, but that, there are people we are going to resonate with. Just because everybody can be our soulmate, we're not going to have a Kundalini awakening with every human being, but the potential is there. And I think it's very challenging for a 20-year-old to walk that path because there's so many hormones and ignorance. And it's not like our school programming trains us for that
Yeah.
experience, right? There is nothing in school that teaches about breathing and kundalini and sexual energy for that matter. We don't
Yeah.
talk about how to harness it and how to control it and how to, which wolf you're going to feed. There's none of those lessons in school. So of course, here we're done college and we're out on our own in our 20s living in a city of 11 million people, LA or New York, and here you meet another human in a flesh bag of flesh and you're ready to awaken and this other person's on an awakening journey and poof, magic
Yeah.
happens. And
Yeah.
there's something beautiful in that experience.
Sure. I don't regret. I mean, if I had, been in those moments with the knowledge that I have now, I would have acted differently, but I don't regret any decision or anything. I have zero regrets. And I think every little piece, every little breath, every experience has great value, and ultimately it comes back to play a role of some kind of value. And we don't might not always know in the moment when things are happening, but I've come to appreciate. It's interesting is like in the spiritual path where I'm at right now is I've always been in search of the timeless, of leaving the body. It's like kind of like a, and I'm experiencing the opposite right now. I'm coming to have the profound gratitude for fleshiness, for being in the flesh, for being in time. The idea of spending uh, eight eight decades more in the flesh with a soulmate, for example. So time and space and really excites me now. To me, it's like it's such an amazing miracle, and I think it's because it can't have one or the other. It's like this interweaving of time and the timelessness of the form and the formless, and human fleshiness is just it's the greatest form that consciousness can take. So as crazy as we're going, as crazy as humans are being right now, it's still the best place to be. I mean, where else would you rather be?
I couldn't agree more. I've had the same feeling, and I've been feeling it when I'm holding that little guy who just came in.
Yeah.
And last night he has a head cold, so he was having a hard time breathing, and I put him right between my husband and me, and both of us, each of us had a hand on him, and in that moment, just feeling his, little congested, sweet body, just needing
Yeah.
our love and feeding him the love
Oh,
and loving my husband, loving him, this baby, and it was this moment of like, I don't care that it's 2:30 in the morning and I'm not asleep. I am so fortunate to be in this body. And even though this little human is struggling, he's a human, he's a spirit having a human experience. And he gets to feel the love coming through his father and his mother's hands as we just support him through a tough night, you know? And it's just it's so beautiful to be human. It is such a gift. And I remember someone saying, I don't remember, it was a teacher I had, and I don't remember where this teacher was, but somebody said, the angels envy us. The
Right.
angels are envious of us because we get to be human.
Yeah.
And
It's
so that
amazing.
is, you mentioned time, and I think as much as we go through these spiritual ebbs and flows on this journey of like, I'm beyond time, I'm in space somewhere, right? I'm beyond the flesh and I'm all in my upper chakras connecting to the heavens. And there is a time for that. And it's amazing when that happens. But then when we also come into the valleys of the humanness, and I'm right there with you in that veil of humanity that's such so freaking amazing and loving it. And the preciousness of time, even though I do not align with the linear nature of, it's not the nature, I should say, the
Yeah.
linear mechanism of it. I like the natural essence of time, like the cycles, the biorhythms. Those
Yeah.
elements of time are such a gift. So I love that you claimed that last week, and it reminded me to give myself permission to drop into time in a way that can be such a blessing.
Yeah. I mean, I think what we're I don't know how many people are listening to this. It could be just us. There could be five people. I have no idea who's listening, but I think just this energy field that's arising. Every time that we talk, I have no idea what we're going to talk about at all. Just we come together and we're going to do our podcast and we're talking about it. I'm feeling this. Whatever is happening right now, it's permeating. Like it's a.
Totally. Yes, but that is, and I mean, like I am full body chills again, and
Yeah.
this
Same.
happens all the time. And I think what it is, rising into that role as a lighthouse. And
Yeah.
that maybe, it doesn't matter if it's 5 or 500 or 5,000 or however many may hear it, that 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 doesn't matter about the number. It doesn't take that many to
Yeah.
be inspired and invigorated and awakened and wanting to awaken and facilitate others awakening to
Yeah.
that unity consciousness, to that love field that when you have it and you own it, it's impenetrable. I mean, I see you, right? I see all these layers around you. Like, there ain't nothing negative getting into your energy. It's not gonna happen. And now with you having Alethea, you finding your human, your twin flame in this life, this resonance that you're creating with her,
Mm.
which I know she's a healer, and it's like you both have these gifts that I think you loved in each other, that you saw in each other, but realizing like you actually have the same gifts. So now you're enhancing.
What's been really amazing about it is I feel like, it's on one hand, I do believe what you said before about anybody, like any human could be a soulmate. Like if we're in our soul awareness, then that soul resonance literally can happen with any human being. Because we have the same exact sort of soul genetics is the wrong word, but I mean soul essence. And I remember one time I experienced I did the landmark forum stuff. I don't know if you've heard
I'm
about it.
familiar with it. Hmm.
In the advanced course, there's one where you stare at somebody it's just about like eliminating story and just becoming present essentially. And there's an exercise you do at the end where you're just staring one on one with somebody. I just fell so in love with that person in that moment. But the question is like can like does that who actually does that and like who can live without story in their life and be in full presence. um so that's one thing, but the other thing like with Alethea I've noticed is I feel like literally everything that I've learned and everything that I've cultivated has been leading up to the moment of meeting her because it's all becoming relevant. And what's amazing is that we all have these skill sets that are completely compatible but also different. So like we have so much to learn from each other. Well, so it's like it's almost like somehow intuitively we knew that there was going to be this union or meeting, and I think every union or meeting of every human, it has a profound value, even if you're just crossing somebody on the street. Like you could just get the full download like instantaneously in a second of like the full life experience, like in a blink of an eye. Like I've experienced that too, like in a matter of a second, everything was transpired. I didn't need time at all. Like when I like Ishwar, for example, I didn't have much physical time with him at all, but everything was transmitted like instantly. So like that wasn't needed. But in terms of like living in the flesh and in time and space, I feel like we've all had these we've collected these skills and these things that we've kind of gotten to a base level where we can combine forces and combine knowledge and combine and have enough similarity but enough difference to make it really interesting. So
Yes.
it's exciting in that there's just like there's a level of compatibility that's beyond just like being present and soul to soul. It's like the story of the story of our skills, our life stories, like everything. I mean, we basically got it's just like it's all just perfect in that regard. So that's when I'm talking about soulmate, that's kind of it's like on a whole other level in that regard in terms of human compatibility and story and resonance and all of that. So there's a soulmate where, and also with Ishwar too, what I noticed too is he over this last years his following became bigger and bigger and bigger. Like he started off, decades ago as he was, giving his talks and all that stuff with just a few people, and it slowly go bigger. And I kind of got I was jealous of the people who got more time with him. And B, I was like, what's happening now that it's getting bigger and bigger? What I realized is love is infinite.
Yes.
It's like the more love there is, the more love there is. And there is no need for jealousy or time or we can just love infinitely and give more and more and more and more and more. And there's always enough. Like the more you give, the more there is. So um anyway, it kind of works in all facets.
Well, it does. And it is infinite, but I do think to come back to because I think it's a beautiful topic, the topic of soulmates. And I do think it's something that's very, unfortunately became sort of a new age trend to search for your soulmate and all these
Yeah.
people, Sleepless in Seattle, right? And all these movies that are designed to make you believe that there is that one person for you out there and you may miss the boat. And some people do. And it's almost like this perpetual search for the person that's going to make you happy.
Yeah.
And and that's just so wrong because I think that all those steps that you and I had to go through before
Yeah.
you found Alethea and before I found Sam, all of these, it was like preparing us to be able to be in this container of love with this other human on a level that is beyond our comprehension, that is beyond what we could have fathomed to be possible with another human. And we had to go through all these lessons, and you have to go through relationships that are karmic along the way, and you could have been another soulmate from another lifetime, but
Mhm.
there's karma, and you had to go through the pain. Maybe like your ex, there was something you guys had to figure out and reconfigure and alchemize in this lifetime to move on so that you are ready for Alethea. And and I
Yeah.
had those relationships as well. And then, but it's that alchemical experience of alchemizing the karma into infinite love, surrendering to love in its infinite potential. And when you have that awareness and you finally get to the point of understanding that, that is when you find the person. When God says, open your eyes, she's right there. Like Sam was in this field, he was just right there and looking all fine and all magnetic,
Wow.
and it didn't matter that I was 12 years older than him. And, you
Yeah.
know, it's of course there are challenges in our age difference, but it was like there was a knowing I am ready for this. We
Wow.
both felt that, but we had to go through all the preparedness and that when you have this connection with another human on that level, you really tap into unity consciousness. You
Yeah.
tap into the infinite well of love. You tap into creator, into all of it, and it becomes healing if you allow it to heal our bodies, heal our communities, heal our planet, serve as a beacon of light and love for others, you know.
My experience is the feeling of actually coming alive in some sense. Like I feel like I'm here alone now in this, this guest house in Germany, and the difference of being alone versus, I mean, we're talking and all that stuff too, but what happened to me being with her is like everything became colorful, everything in multidimensional, everything became like completely alive. And like before that, I just feel like life was kind of, it was two dimensional. It was like a stick figure almost drawing. It's like it was like flat or empty. It's like, what is the point of this anyway? and um, and I completely agree. Like every experience, every human experience, everybody that we meet is perfectly engineered. It's perfect. Everything is absolutely perfect. And it's a perfect. And one of Alethea's friends, she told me, said his requirement for finding a partner in the future is that she first had to have gone through her dark night of the soul.
Mm. Yeah.
It's all we have to. I've been through very deep dark nights of the soul, and I would not trade it for anything. It's absolutely necessary. If you're going through it, great, good for you. Like just hang in there. You'll be fine.
George on, you got this. But and that's not to say that you can't go through your dark night of the soul with someone that, some God bless those people who meet their person, their companion to dance in this incredible journey when they're 14 years old.
Well,
Yeah.
the requirement for that is that both are willing to grow and can grow together. So the challenge is when there's two partners, there's two people. I mean, some of my new friends, they have an amazing. You can just see in their auras, they're just so like so connected. They've been through a lot. They've been homeless. They've been through all of the horrible things. And but the difference with them is that they're growing together, they're evolving together, and they're both willing to work on themselves and evolve and awaken together. Not everybody's like that. Some people get stuck or they go in a different direction, or it's like a snail pace versus, I don't know, it can be hard to yeah, sometimes it's necessary, I think, to split ways with somebody.
I think sometimes it's what you need. Your soul
Yeah,
needs to
yeah,
move. I knew with my ex it was time. And
yeah,
and I think anyone listening who's been through that, it's over long before it's over. But on a soul level, we have to be okay with how things evolved to the ending. And I think that's
I,
what's
I think if I were to give a tip,
yeah.
for
Probably get your stuff thrown out of a window.
stuff around the window, but the real thing I think which kind of released me for the next phase is gratitude. So instead of leaving something because it's bad and you have to get out of there, it's like coming into realization how you got there in the first place and why it's perfect and how it's perfect and how it's an alchemical process. And either in the state of gratitude, either then maybe you come to accept that thing and you actually want to stay around that because you're so grateful for it, or maybe you realize that it's not necessary anymore. And so, but if you're running away from something, if you hate something, if you have, a resistance towards something, it's not likely to go away if you leave it. That thing or that person or that energy or that experience will keep coming at you until gratitude is achieved.
You hit the nail on the head, and there's someone who explains this quite well. Aaron Doughty, I listened to him a long time ago, and he talked about how when you have this, I mean, really, you can frame it in a package of resistance, right? Because you may say, oh, but it was toxic. They're a narcissist or whatever, right? Projection, label, deflect. But really, it's not about getting out of a toxic relationship because you see it all over the internet. And again, this is like another new age concept of it's their fault, not mine, right? They're the narcissist. It's toxic for me. And we can all, I'm sure we all could paint a story, a narrative, an experience in that light.
Yeah,
But really what it is the soul is resisting something, and there's something, maybe you need that resistance for a time, maybe you don't, but that energetically, when you feel such intensity around someone, your soul is going to create an experience with equal resistance. Like
yeah,
you're just going to create another battle essentially. But
yeah,
if you surrender to gratitude,
yeah,
you alchemize an entirely alternative potential that is serving a much higher purpose for you and for humanity. And when my ex and I parted ways, it was on my 40th birthday. I'll never forget it. I know exactly where I was sitting. And it was like, and he said to me, I'm going to give you the greatest birthday present. We're done. And I had sort of said it. We were same thing, living in separate parts of the house. And I'd waited for years to be okay. But because he had suicidal tendencies, I was terrified of being the one to end it. Because then, if he made that choice, which he eventually did, I would always be afraid that I would be blaming myself. What if I hadn't ended it? Or what if I hadn't done it? What, but I needed it to be on his terms. But the fact that it was on my birthday, and I was like, in that moment, I remember it was like I was at a crossroads. I could choose to think, gosh, you a-hole, words, 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 right? How could you do this to me on my 40th birthday, right?
Yeah.
Or I could choose in that moment to say, thank you. And I chose to say thank you and verbalized it openly. Thank you. Thank you. And as sad as we both became in that moment, because rather than the anger which would have just perpetuated another storm, it was that surrender and gratitude that truly liberated both of us and
Wow.
enabled us to step away from that dynamic, untangle from one another, and walk forward in our own freedom and our own divine right as soulful humans. And it was the greatest gift. I mean, it really was such a blessing. So thank you for that reminder of gratitude, because I think it is the greatest tip that you can give anybody to come to come to gratitude in
And
regards to everything.
I'm needing this reminder and this tip again too, because I'm back here in the thick of it with my
Oh,
and with this strange, and I don't understand it, but I'm sure through if I approach it more from a place of gratitude rather than being this is batshit crazy,
right. Oh,
I'll probably have a lot better time navigating it. So this is an important reminder for me to renew my gratitude.
isn't
And
it
my sort of beginning of the end was also 42 as well for this long karmic entanglement thing. And
interesting?
yeah,
Wow. Well, that's full circle, isn't it? And that's like the perfect bookend that here, you started by
that's
sharing
true, right? Yeah, it's
experience. And I hope that my hope for you is that you are able to surrender to gratitude. And then I think when we do that, what happens is creator opens the floodgates of abundance of what it is that we are ready to receive. And may that be more hugs from your son. May that
yeah,
be
absolutely.
more time with your son. May that be an understanding that you and your son need to do this dance together in this lifetime.
Thank you. Yes, please. Thank you, and yes, please. And one of the things I was thinking, I was on a run today just before this about him, like there's something that's sits right with me. He's we're in this little German village. It's very cute. It's very cozy. It's very small. And he goes to this little elementary school that's very cute and cozy and small here. And it just for his energy field right now, it seems like there's something in me that's like this fits
Yes.
for him being in a cute, cold, cute, small, cuddly German school, like elementary school. Like it's just a normal school. It's not a Waldorf. It's not anything. It's just a cute school, and so it's just the how it's all arranged. I can't live here right now. Doing what I'm doing right now. I have to be in a big city. I have to be working with technology and with people and all that stuff. I literally feel that I couldn't sustain myself long term here. It's not the creative field that I need. So just the fact that it's happening, Isabel chose this place, that it is what it is. It's like there's some kind of deeper level of perfection going on here that because I know if he was in Las Vegas right now, he wouldn't have that cute, cuddly, cozy feeling in his life. He would go to a school, it'd be a little bit more cold, you know, uh, I don't know. it would
American
be,
school system-ish.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And so for now, I mean, who knows how long it'll be? Maybe he'll stay here throughout his childhood. Maybe it'll be, I don't know. But for now, it feels okay, and he's doing well, and I see that he's doing well and developing. So yeah, just we're gonna keep uh, reminding myself that through all this, the gratitude is really the only answer.
But this, you literally are the embodiment of living, breathing alchemy, Subhraag, because in the beginning when we started, right, I felt there was a heaviness around this, and then we talked about how when something gets taken away from us, like when your saxophone was stolen,
Yeah,
and then I was thinking about when my mother was taken, and I was thinking also, when your son was taken, or this agreement was made that he's going to be essentially spending most of his time in Germany. But look, you just alchemized and you saw the gratitude and the blessing in that
yeah,
experience for him. And in this crazy world right now, for him to have a cozy, cute sanctuary, a
mm,
container that can hold him in a safe, lovely way in this
mhm,
big, bad, crazy world, right?
yeah,
And hopefully maybe Las Vegas can be the funnest summer experience where he gets
yeah,
more intimate time with you, that
totally. Yeah.
right. So
Go to the circus. Go to the circus school. Like go to go ride the horses. All those things that are possible. Yeah, I hope so. And maybe that's what his soul needs. It needs a multi-dimensional experience. Not just like one thing or the other thing, but something a little bit more broader, a little bit more dynamic. But yeah.
oh well, I'm gonna hold that gratitude and prayer in my heart for you.
Thank you so much. Wow, this was a nice therapy session.
This is why humans need humans.
Absolutely. I wouldn't have got I was formulating emails that I wanted to write on my run, which were kind, but not as kind as I think that they will be now that we've had this podcast.
We just proved that the point you made that the humanity, these bags of flesh are pretty profoundly
Yeah,
critical for our spiritual growth.
absolutely.
Yep.
Well, thank you. It's amazing.
Oh, I love you and thank
Love
you.
you too.
Oh, my heart is full. I'm high as a kite. This is
Yes.
fantastic. Oh, well, thank you, my friend.
Have a beautiful day.